Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we do not intend for it to be long. Essentially, this presentation has 22 slides. All right. And what we intend to do in this, brothers and sisters, is to go over the matter, if we will, of the life of Jeremiah, in part also with the history of Israel through Jeremiah's eyes. So what do we mean by that, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes? All right. What we mean by that, in a nutshell, if we will, is that the prophet Jeremiah lived during the time when some of the biggest kingdoms in the earth were ruling, some coming up, some coming down. Sad to say, part of the kingdoms that came down included the people of the tribe of Judah, not as a people, but as stated as a kingdom. So brothers and sisters, we ask you all to participate in this presentation. We hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. This is brought to you from Danite Publications on the channel, Mordeh Yeshaya Torah Lessons, as well as Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons, as well as the Facebook group, or the Facebook name, should I say, brothers and sisters, being Yeshaya Author Danite. I know that this is done maybe a little bit out of time because it was expected to be at a different time. But nonetheless, brothers and sisters, we do intend, with the blessing, hopefully from the Most High, to bring this out to the people. Shalom, my brother, Yirmiyahu Yisrael. All righty. So let us, without any further ado, pull up the PowerPoint. And brothers and sisters, if I can be heard well, and if people are in good spirits, please, we ask you to type in the number 4. If I can be heard well, and people are in good spirits, we ask you to type in the number 4. Thank you for that. Again, this is on the channels, Mordeh Yeshaya Torah Lessons, Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons, as well as on the Facebook group, or the Facebook name, sorry, I must say, Yeshaya Author Danite. All right, so brothers and sisters, without any further ado, let us get into this. First, giving honor to the Most High. This presentation, History of Israel through Jeremiah's eyes, is presented to you all from Danite Publications. We hope and pray that you all are well and will be better. That is our sincere prayer from Danite Publications. Now, let me take a moment out. When I keep saying we, I'm talking about the people who help make the channel possible. I'm talking about the people who help encourage me in getting these presentations out. On a human level, my lady Sarai, much respect to her. The brother Yirmiyahu Yisrael, who we spoke with online and offline, if we will. And brothers and sisters, many other brothers and sisters who participate, encourage, support, endorse, and want to see a brothers, a sisters get information across to the people. Sidebar, can a woman teach in the house of Israel? That has been a discussion. Now, why do we say on the channel, Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons, that a woman can teach in the house of Israel to anyone is this. We read Proverbs 31. Sometimes people will say that, oh, that's the woman, the mom talking to her son. But we men learn from that same mother, who's a woman. You understand? So yes, in Proverbs 31, which is a female speaking, a woman speaking, we grown men centuries later are still learning from Lemuel's mother in Proverbs 31. One of the things I believe stands out is it says her husband is known in the gates as he sits among the elders of the city. See, unlike Rehoboam, which we're going to talk about in another presentation, he decided to listen to his knucklehead friends. Whereas the wisdom that Solomon would have expounded upon would be to listen to the elders. One of the things, if I may go there and say, that I respect about my lady Sarai is when we travel, she makes herself known among the elders. I noticed that or peeped that myself. My lady sits among the elders and so forth and so on. Not to knock people in their 40s, 30s, or 20s, or in their teens, but going to the rock from which you was hewn and from the hole in which you was dug. And Isaiah chapter 51 is part of our culture. Going to, as it says, ask your fathers and they will tell you in Deuteronomy 32. So we respect our elders, brothers and sisters. So as we get older, one of the things I try to push is to get people to get their publications out. Because when we leave this earth, like Solomon left this earth, we got Proverbs. Like Sirach left this earth, we got Ecclesiasticus. You understand? Like many other of our teachers, influences and so forth have left this earth. They left us their works. So we too want to leave our works. All right? So let us continue in this. We hope and pray that you all are well and will be better. Please, we ask you to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Regarding donations, we prefer you buy a book we wrote. And when you go in the description, you will see the links to the book that my lady Sarai wrote, a poetry book, as well as the book that I am pushing and endorsing. That's to say, From Averis to Alabama, which is a book you can get online from now to the time of Chanukah, December 7th, for $10 on Amazon. So, brothers and sisters, again, we hope and pray everybody is well and will be better. Get your pens, your pads, your paper, take notes. We're going to pull this up right now. daynightpublications.com is the website. You can go there and check out other videos. You can go there and see the links to get to Amazon to get the books, brothers and sisters. Now, for those who care to get a book directly from me, I do not mind that. The only thing is, I ask you to understand that I deal with FedEx once it comes down to that. So let me know if that is okay and appropriate for you, and then we can make our move from that particular case. All right. Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, that is to say the name of even one of our moderators, right? Yirmiyahu means the Lord will exalt. By Lord, we are speaking of the Most High. Jeremiah was born in the time of King Manasseh of Judah, this being in the 7th century BCE. Nabopolassar was ruling in Babylon. He was a Levite of the line of Itamar and was born in the land of Benjamin. The 40 years between 626 and 586 BCE was a large amount of history. Assyria sees its fall and Babylon sees its rise. The Egyptians were in their new kingdom, as is commonly called today, in dynasty 26. Now, sidebar, I want to point out some of the names that you see of the people in Jeremiah are mentioned also by the Greek historian Herodotus. Did you know that? Pharaoh Hafra, also called Amasis, is mentioned in Jeremiah, also mentioned in the historian Herodotus. This is a series we intend to bring out to the people. All right. So we ask you all to subscribe to the channels, comment, like, and share. To the people who have subscribed, to the people who have bought books, to the people who have supported. It is definitely, not going to lie, needed, and it is definitely appreciated. All right. So, brothers and sisters, let us shalom, Hebrew boy. How you doing? I only say Hebrew boy because that's the name that the brother has on his page. I'm not calling a grown man a boy, just out of respect. All right. So, looking at it in that particular case, we are going to continue on in the slide, and let's move on from there. Jerusalem captured, Nebuchadnezzar. Battle of Carchemish, Necho II. Jeremiah 46, verse 2. Jerusalem captured, Jehoiakim, Zedekiah. 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 1 through 17. Now, many times we might say 586 BCE, as we did earlier. 586 BCE, as we did earlier. But Jerusalem began to sadly get captured in 598, 11 years before that, or 597, according to some accounts, brothers and sisters, depends on what month you're looking at, in that particular case. So, brothers and sisters, we want to show the history of the Israelites as far as it relates into the world. And this is part of the reasons on why we go over this particular matter and so forth and so on. All right. So let us continue and show what we're talking about. Pharaoh Necho defeated by Nebuchadnezzar in Jeremiah 46. Now, how was he defeated? brothers and sisters, because the book of Kings lets us know that the king of Egypt didn't come up out of his land anymore. So the territories that he had that were conquered in the land of Israel and in other lands by the Pharaoh before him, all right, called by some Semiticus or so the second of the 26th dynasty of Egypt, we begin to see exactly what's going on with that. Let me give a case in point, because some people state that Necho of Egypt and Nebuchadnezzar never really did, quote, fight themselves. If I own Sony Records and Columbia Records and Epic Records, and Epic Records, if I own it, is in Manhattan, Sony in Brooklyn, Columbia in Queens, just using that as an example for those who know the boroughs of New York, and I live in New Jersey, and I lose Epic Records, while not even being where Epic Records is, but being the owner of it, the operator of it, that is a defeat. That is, in layman's term, an L or a loss. And that's how we can say that the Tanakh, the Old Testament, as it is erroneously called, is not lying by saying that what? Pharaoh Necho was defeated in that particular case. Now, Nineveh was destroyed. You see that in the book of Nahum, if you will. The land of Egypt destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar and left desolate for 40 years. Brothers and sisters, Egypt, as we're going to point out, was on its last leg. You understand? And it did not have the strength for it to continue in that particular case. Sidebar, Dynasty 26 is after the famous, what historians like to call today, the Nubian or Black Pharaohs of Egypt of Dynasty 25. But Necho, after that, was black, and Ramses before that was black. See, what happens is this. Because, brothers and sisters, the Egyptians, like the Hebrews, the people of Kemet, the people of Sematawi, like the Kabiru or the Hebrews, were conquered by the Europeans. So they can show Yul Brynner or Russian as Ramses in a movie. They can show, you understand, who played Moses in that movie, The Ten Commandments? Charleston Heston. You can show that in there, but yet when they showed the Nubians, they had to show people of color, because Ethiopia or Nubia was not conquered like the children of Israel were by the European and like the Egyptians were by the European. So these are things we just want to point out for reference purposes. All right, so when you look right here, brothers and sisters, we're going to show, if we will, with the time allotted, all right, with the laser pointer, Assyria, Nineveh, Haran. We spoke about Haran in a presentation called So We Are African But Not Israelites. That was on the channel Mora Yeshaya History Lessons. Subscribe to the channel. You'll be able to see that, if you will. Babylon, Babylonia, Elam, Medes. Medes come from Japheth. Elam come from Shem. There was a Medo-Persian empire that came up after the timing of Jeremiah, which was coinciding with the timing of Ezra and Nehemiah. So just want to point that out, brothers and sisters, in this case. Now let's look at this here and show a correlation, if you will, with the time allotted. And let's look at the pen, Memphis, right, that you see there in Jerusalem. How does that apply in part? Sorry about that, family. How does that apply in part to what we're talking about in this particular case? Is this, all right? My phone fell real quick. Just want to go over back this here. Thank you for that. How does that apply in part with this here? Is this Jeremiah chapter 2 is where it says that the people of Noph and Tahpanhes feed upon the head or the crown of Judah. Noph is Memphis. N-O-P-H in the Bible is Menopher in Egyptian and Memphis in Greek. So we can see its importance by the time Jeremiah comes along on how the Egyptians had a kind of sovereign place over where the Israelites was at. So in Jeremiah 2, when it says the people of Noph and Tahpanhes, which is Memphis and Daphne of the Greeks in the land of Egypt, right? For those who care to look those names up, we can see why that correlation is there in that particular case. All right. So, if there's any questions or comments concerning this, please feel free to type it into the chat. Any questions or comments concerning this, please again, feel free to type it into the chat. Let's go on, family, with the time allotted. Lands of significance in Jeremiah's time. Megiddo in the land of Issachar. Jerusalem in the land of Benjamin. Did you know that? Did you know that Jerusalem is not in Judah? Why you think in the Bible you might see in the land of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem mentioned periodically? Jerusalem geographically is not in the land of Judah. It's in the land of Benjamin. So now taking it back to what, say, the prophet Moses said about Benjamin, he sits between the two folds, Judah and Ephraim. We want to point out that David's capital, Jerusalem, was in the land of Benjamin or Benjamin. Anatot in the land of Benjamin. Dan, which was a land in northern Israel. Lachish, which is in Judah. The city of Ai, or Ai, according to some, in the land of Benjamin. Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And Carchemish in Turkey. Now let's go back here, brothers and sisters. Carchemish, brothers and sisters, we see right here, being circled on the top, on the left, on the right-hand side, sorry. Right? Carchemish is where those nations in southern Turkey met to fight. To have a fight, that is. Right? Where they meant to fight at. Brothers and sisters, Turkey is a major place for the lands between what we call today Asia, Africa, and Europe. When me and my lady went into Egypt, we had to stop in Turkey because that's where the major place to meet, to go to those different places when traveling a certain distance. All right? I'm going to ask everyone who is in the chat if you can hear me well. And if you are in good spirits, please type in 4. The reason why I asked that is because my microphone part fell. Sorry about that. In that particular case. So I need to know, because I can't hear me the way it's presented. So I need to know from the family online, immediate and or extended, if you can hear me well. And when I say immediate or extended, up to my family. If you can hear me well and you're in good spirits, please type in the number 4. All right? Thank you for that. Thank you for that, my brother Yirmiyahu. Let's continue in this particular case. How hath the Lord covered with the cloud the daughter of Zion in his anger? He hath cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and hath not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. Yah hath swallowed up unsparingly all the inhabitants of Jacob. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughters of Judah. He hath brought down them to the ground. He hath profaned the kingdom and the princes thereof. That is from the book of Lamentations, brothers and sisters, which is written by Baruch, about the destruction that happened during that time. What can we point out too regarding the book of Lamentations? Do you see right there in Lamentations chapter 2, that is, right? How you mention, or it is mentioned, let me say it like that. We want to show this with, if you will, the highlighter, right? Israel, we see, right? Jacob, we see. Judah, we see. Zion, we see. So let's look at this and show it with the pen and why we talk about it in that case. Judah, Jacob, Israel, Zion. The children of Zion are the children of Israel. By the time, brothers and sisters, the kingdom fell of Israel and Assyria and Judah and Babylon, there was no more, quote, kingdom of Israelites, whether in the southern or northern. So when you read here, he hath profaned the kingdom and the princes thereof. That's what sadly happened in that particular case. The royal family, the nobles, and 10,000 craftsmen and warriors were transported to Mesopotamia. The remnant of the kingdom was after Jehoiakim, ruled by Zedekiah. Zedekiah revolted and Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to the city. Judah was destroyed as an independent state and transported another large group to Babylon. So when you hear about the captivity that happened in 597, some say 598 BCE, and then again in 586 BCE, this is what we're talking about for reference purposes. If there's any questions or comments, concerning the presentation, please feel free to type it into the chat. I rather, as is the custom, not show myself on the camera, just have the presentation shown. All right. And that's why that is in that particular case. All right. So let us continue in this particular matter so we can get a history. This is a part one of a series, so we can see the history of Israel through Jeremiah's eyes, what he saw, what he experienced from others, as well as Israelites. Now, what we're going to read here is what he said will happen concerning the house of Israel. We can see what we're going to get into, why he in time is referred to as the weeping prophet. For thus saith the Lord, enter not into the house of mourning, neither go to lament, neither bemoan them. For I have taken away my peace from this people, saith Yah, even mercy and compassion. Both the great and the small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried. Neither shall men lament for them, nor cut themselves, nor make themselves bored for them. Neither shall men break bread for them in mourning, to comfort them for the dead. Neither shall men neither shall men give them the cup of consolation to drink for their father or for their mother. Brothers and sisters, what can we point out? You know what they refer to, correct me if I'm wrong, as a wake or so, meaning like after the death or the funeral, everybody come together and they eat and drink and so forth to console each other. That's not going to happen for the people of Judah. For the people that's remaining in the land of Israel, that's not going to be done for them in their honor, in their memory, in their respect. So that's what we're pointing out in that case. And thou shalt not go into the house of feasting to sit with them to eat and drink. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will cause to cease out of this place before your eyes and in your days the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. What's the bridegroom? Is the husband. The bride is the wife. What's wrong with having a wedding, Israel? Having a wedding is not a bad thing. The voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the bride. When a woman is getting married to whom she loves, she's happy. When a man is getting married to whom he loves, he's happy. You understand? What's going to sadly happen in this case, as we read here, is that there will be no weddings. There will be no lamenting for the deceased. There will be no visuals, no wakes. There will be no everything going to be all right kind of situation because of the wickedness, sadly, that happened with the Israelites. Most Israelites already know of this particular prophecy, brothers and sisters. But what too do we care to point out for reference purposes is this, if we will. And that is, family, who, while claiming to be Israel sometimes, or Jews most of the time, claim this part. And this is no disrespect intended. Let's look even in today's time. The rapper Jadakiss operates a funeral home where they sell caskets. Do you know who owns David's bridal shop? Jewish people, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you know who is famous in the said black community to own the funeral homes, the funeral chapels? Our people. The person who was the funeral coordinator for my mother was his sister. And by sister, I mean the said black woman. But yet, we knew y'all to sit there and look for those into it, a prom or a wedding even. In most cases, if you want to get something real quick or just go to one of those kind of stores like David's Bridal, something of that kind of nature, you go to people who are not your own. What am I pointing out? Who are the heaviest people on divorce court? Most of the time, it's our people. Who is the most least married female on the earth is the said black woman. So, brothers and sisters, when we can see this prophecy, and it's not to dampen people's spirits, this is not to sit there and make anyone sad, but we just want to, brothers and sisters, point this out for edification purposes. Let's go on and see what happens, brothers and sisters. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests that are in Anatot in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of Yah came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. Josiah, Yoshiah, meaning God heals. Son of Ammon. Ammon means workman. That is to say, a man who's about working and so forth. King of Judah, Yahudah, meaning Yah is praised, or Yah to be praised, in the 13th year of his reign. So in the 13th year of King Josiah, who began to rule at age 8, 8 and 13 gives you 21. So Josiah was in his early 20s when Jeremiah, still a child, began to prophesy. And it came to pass in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, unto the carrying away of Jerusalem captive in the 5th month. We are in the 7th month, pardon me, the 9th month in the Hebrew calendar as we stand here, new moon being last week. We are in the month of Kislev, brothers and sisters. And Hanukkah is coming up. That's a presentation that will be on the channel, more Yeshaya history lessons. Tune in to that, if you will. We want to go over briefly a genealogy of this in manner. Josiah, Jehoiakaz, son of Josiah. Jehoiakim, son of Josiah. Jehoiakim, son of Jehoiakim. So Jehoiakim is the grandson of Josiah, and Zedekiah, the son of Josiah. One good thing to point out, though most of the kings of Judah were not righteous, is that all the kings of Judah were from Judah. Excuse me. There was no foreigner sitting on the throne of Judah, brothers and sisters. So that's something we care to point out. Of the kings of Judah, correct me if I'm wrong, out of 26 were known to be righteous. That means the majority were known to be unrighteous. All the kings you see there on the right-hand side, besides Josiah, were wicked. Next slide, please. Notes and connection in history, if we will. The northern kingdom of Israel, falling to the Assyrians in the 8th century BCE, was before the timing of Jeremiah. Hezekiah was king after Ahaz. Ahaz was ruler when the northern kingdom of Israel fell. Jeremiah mentioned Micah the prophet and King Hezekiah. Jeremiah chapter 26 says this. Micah the Morashite prophesied in the days of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Stop there. Israel didn't forget their history. Jeremiah and Hezekiah did not live in the same time frame. The elders that you see that are mentioned in Jeremiah 26 lived in the time frame of Jeremiah, speaking about something that happened decades before that. Don't forget your history. That's the point I wanted to point out in this particular case, if we will. Let's continue, family. Saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, Zion shall be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house as the high place of a forest. As the high places of a forest, sorry. Did Hezekiah, king of Judah, and all Judah put him to death at all? Did he not fear Yah and entreat the favor of Yah? And Yah repented him of the evil which he had pronounced concerning them? Thus we might procure great evil against our own souls. What are we talking about? Did you know they want to kill Jeremiah for his prophecies? What I'm going to say is in no dishonor to anyone. But I remember being told, right, that two children spoke with each other. And one child said to the other, being relatives, Santa is not real. I saw mommy and daddy with the presents, wrapping them up and putting them by the tree. The person who heard that, they both being under the age of 10 at the time, was upset with the relative for saying that kind of matter. You got this and I got this. And when they opened up the gifts the next day and saw, oh, my sibling was right. The other sibling who was told that Santa was not real, both of them being younger than 10, was upset because this sibling was told the truth. Ain't that Israel? Israel being told the truth, and now you're upset with the person who told you the truth. The difference, what I just stated, is that the people I talked about were younger than 10. The people we read here were grown men and women. And sometimes, whether our immediate or extended families, when you bring this truth, sometimes they don't like you for it. Yes, there's a way to bring it, brothers and sisters. You don't want to turn someone off. You don't want to be, well, I ain't going to apologize for speaking the truth. That's not the spirit to have. Because our people have been indoctrinated for so long, you have to perhaps come with kid gloves. You can't do you when speaking of this truth. You got to speak the word of Yah like Micah the Morishite did. Like Amos of Tekoa did. Like Jeremiah of Anatot did, brothers and sisters. So when we know ourselves as to be the house of Israel, not saying we are prophets, but if we are speaking this great truth, you got to know how to present it. Let's continue, family. All right, thank you all for the time. Jeremiah began to prophesy when he was a child, and as noted, he saw the fall of Jerusalem by the Babylonians. When Jerusalem fell, he was brought to Egypt, where he was until his death. During this time, Huldah the prophetess spoke to the men of Josiah. During the time of Josiah, he, in doing reforms in Israel, expanded as far as the Red Sea. Josiah was responsible for putting down idolatry in Judah. Josiah was responsible for ridding Judah of the perverts as well. Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, was taken captive by the Egyptians. What do I mean by the perverts? J.L. King wrote a book called On the Low, The Life of quote unquote straight black men who sleep with men. Yeah, that was in ancient days, sadly, as well. Uncle such and such isn't truly Uncle such and such. He put down the perverts in that particular case. You understand? So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care to point out for reference purposes. Time Life Books sold archaeology about what happened in the timing of Josiah in 2 Kings 23, when it says they put down the images of the horses that the people did worship and so forth. These channels that we present these kind of things on is something we hope that people will respect, understand, have any questions about. You can see my number across the screen, 908-587-4841. Let's continue with the time allotted, brothers and sisters. Again, this was supposed to be expected to be at 9:30 because of family situations. Nothing bad. We doing it a little bit early, brothers and sisters, for family time and so forth. The Silver Scroll, Birkat Kohanim 22. What do we see, brothers and sisters? This is dated to the timing of Josiah. We see here the YHWH. YHWH, or Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, also mentioned, shown here in the Hebrew in what is referred to as the Silver Scrolls. This again is dated to the timing of Josiah. This is a part of the prayer that says, may the Most High make his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you. We always were a praying people. We always came in the name of our God. You understand? So these are things we care to point out for reference purposes. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that. Hebrew Boy asked, when people go to witches for spells or magic, by what power are witches working? I would answer that by saying this, my friend. Nothing happens without the authenticity of the Most High God. The witch, the Mekashef Balaam, had to go to Elohim in order to get permission to even curse Israel. You understand? When you deal in the Tanakh and it says, do not consult the Mekashefah, the witch, nor deal with Ob, which is where they get the modern term Obiah from. You understand? Or the Yid Onim and so forth, the song that you read of in Leviticus. Or the Mekwawe Metim, necromancy, conjuring of the dead, right? Torah does not say that those things do not exist. It's just saying you, Israel, ain't supposed to go and delve into that. Murder exists, but that's not for us to do. Stealing exists, but that's not for us to do. You understand? So these are things we care to point out. When me and my lady saw the movie, The Exorcist, I pointed out, brothers and sisters, as my lady pointed out to me before then, that the lady was citing the Old Testament. And what she was doing, not being a witch, and getting, quote, the said demon out, if you will, to get said, quote, the spirit out the person, if you will, definitely was doing things of the said Old Testament. Take this hyssop and pour it toward the east. Those who have understanding know what that's about and what is being spoken upon. Everybody else who's talking about JC this, no knock on any brother or sister who's messianic, that didn't work. You understand? So brothers and sisters, as we can see right here, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not going to find any ancient record where Israel is given an appellation to another god outside of what they call Molech, Asherah, or Baal. And the Tanakh speaks against those kind of things. But you know what's something to point out too, not to be long-winded, with the timing allotted, if we will, and that's this. Asherah, Molech, Baal, Mazda, Melkart, Marduk, Ma'at, Sekhmet, none of these gods or goddesses of these other nations ever spoke of Yah. Whether you say it is Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahovah, Yahuwah, whatever pronunciation Israel may have of the sacred name, which in Ezekiel says that we will know his name when he lets us know how to pronounce and so forth in Ezekiel 39. None of those other idols and gods and goddesses of these nations mention the Most High God. The Most High God in the Torah mentions them. You know why? Because their gods have mouths that speak not, ears that cannot hear. So the fact that they don't mention Yah, but Yah mentions them, shows who's the true and the living God. Because they can't mention Yah, because they're not true and living. So these are things, brothers and sisters, to be pointed out. All right? Was it an angel that prevented Gabriel from getting to Daniel? I believe, if I'm seeing you right, Hebrew boy, that's talking about Daniel chapter 10, if I'm not mistaken. And what that shows us is sometimes the things that we might do on earth is affected by what goes on in the heavens, and maybe and or vice versa. When it says the prince of this nation and the prince of this nation was fighting with each other in Daniel chapter 12, Daniel chapter 11, I would have to say yes to answer your question. But that goes to show us that each nation should stay with their own nation. Daniel 12 says, Michael, the great prince that stands for your people. So if Israel has their own particular angel in the book of Daniel, then why does Israel want to mix with everybody else? I'll wait. Next part, please. Now, what we're seeing here is something during landscape, maybe in modern times, if you will, where Josiah and Jehoiakim, kings of Judah, were. Just want to show that in that particular case. All right. Now, what we're seeing right here in archaeology is referred to as the Mesad Hashab Yahu. Right. And what this is talking about, brothers and sisters, is saying one who is a harvest. Your servant harvested and measured and stored up always before the Sabbath. So don't say that Israel didn't have a prep day, brothers and sisters. The difference is, no disrespect to brothers and sisters today, is back then they communicated outside of just Shabbat like some brothers and sisters in camps do. Oh, I ain't busy. I can never say Shalom until Shabbat. Wow. We see in archaeology right here that Israel's talking back and forth with each other, if we will, before the Shabbat. We got to get it together, brothers and sisters. We got to prevent that curse, that plague that Jeremiah talks about, and we can do it. We need the voice of the bride and the bridegroom to come back. Zechariah talks about boys and girls playing, brothers and sisters. We need to bring that kind of thing back. I remember going outside to play. being 8, 9, 10 years old. When you look at children these days, they don't generally go outside like my generation did in the late 80s, early 90s. You don't see them in the park as much like that. We have to bring that kind of spirit back of happiness, if we will. All right. So we are on the channels, More Yeshaya Torah lessons, More Yeshaya history lessons, and the Facebook page, Yeshaya Orthodanite. All right. Thank you all for that. Let's continue with the time allotted. Jehoiakim, the grandson of Josiah, was the son and successor of Jehoiakim. He was, before age of 20, was taken captive along with his relatives to Babylon. 2 Kings 24, when you care to read it in your own time. The king after Jehoiakim was Zedekiah. He was the son of Josiah. So Jehoiakim was the nephew of Zedekiah. Originally named Mattaniah, his name was changed by the Babylonians to Zedekiah. Zedekiah means Yah is righteous. Mattaniah means God is my gift. Or gift of God, sorry. He was the last king of Judah, and like his nephew, was taken captive by the era of Ezekiel the prophet. Jeremiah and Ezekiel were contemporary prophets. So when we read that the Most High raised your sons up for prophets, we see what that's about. When we see that the Most High raised your sons up for Nazarites, we see what that's about. There's a certain thing that was happening in Israel that even Israelites in camps, namely, I'm going to say myself, have to get back into. It's not good as an Israelite, not telling no one what they must do, that you only fast when the Most High commanded it in Leviticus. When we know that there were other fasts that Israel had. Your body needs that rest, like you need that rest. You understand? When it says, and there's some health tips that me and my lady was talking about earlier, right? Olives are good for your skin and your hair. Deuteronomy 28 verse 41 says that your olives shall drop off and you shall not anoint yourself with it. So we were known for using the juice or the blood of olives upon our bodies for health. The princes of Israel, the warriors of Israel, the people that the king of Babylon wanted to take, they didn't have, and I'm not the healthiest, I'm a little fat. They didn't have a gut belly. If they wore a belt, their stomach didn't hang over their waist like mine does. No offense to self. In the Atlantic slave trade, they preferred to take from 18 to 25 because they say that's the strongest. From age in the Israelite culture, age 20 and upward is when you go to war, when you're eligible for such. And as a priesthood, you start to train at 25, you officiate at 30, and you end at 50. Unlike this society, 65, you can retire. You know what? Hey, we got you. You can only get your full pension when you retire at 72 because perhaps they hope you drop dead and can't get your pension. This society, like Babylon, is wicked. So when you hear brothers from the Caribbean or brothers from the United States talking about burn, Babylon burn, there's a spirit or why that might just be said. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. What you see there, we pointed out before, is a matter of Jehoiakim mentioned in the Berlin Museum by the Babylonians. The Arad Ashtakah, if we will, looking at this, dating to the time of Zedekiah. Arad was a major city in the land of Israel. Edom's threat, Arad, Kina, Ramat Negev. Negev means what? South. Ramah means what? What does Ramah mean? Anybody in the chat? Be it the Facebook chat, More Yeshaya Torah lessons, or More Yeshaya history lessons. What does Ramah mean? Anybody care to type it in? Please feel free to do so. What this is talking about is about making sure things are put together and stored up just in case Edom comes through to try to take away the land. So when you hear people in this day and time, how you can apply this book to life, about storing things up just for the rainy day, is not far-fetched. They was talking about that as we see here, and it's Ashtakah written in Hebrew there, and so forth. All right? The word Ramah means high. Just want to point that out. Let's continue, if we will, all right, in this presentation. The Assyrians, even before this era, had a time with the Israelites. Yehu, king of Israel, paid tribute to Manasseh III. Jehoash, king of Judah, paid tribute to Hazael, king of Syria, also known as the king of Aram. Jehoahaz, king of Israel, paid tribute to Adad Narari of Assyria. They paid tribute to avoid being besieged. Today, we pay rent and mortgage to avoid the monsters from coming. The Assyrian king Esarhaddon recorded besieging Manasseh, king of Judah. The Assyrians, as a kingdom, after that went into civil war and anarchy by the 7th century BCE. The Babylonians were coming up as a power. The Babylonian king named Nabopolassar defeated Ashur-banilit and ruled over the land of Assyria. Let's stop there. Why does Jeremiah chapter 1 say destruction comes from the north if Babylon is east of where Jerusalem is? Because Nebuchadnezzar's father took over the Assyrian people and they inhabited their land. So the Babylonians came from the north to attack Judah in the south. That's why we want to point that out in history. All right. His son Nebuchadnezzar is known for taking captive of the tribes of the southern kingdom part: Levi, Benjamin, Simeon, and Judah. Want to point that out for reference purposes. All right. I'm going to have to answer that question later on, my brother, when you ask me about Isaiah chapter 65. So when this is done, then we can go over that. I appreciate your question, my brother, Hebrew boy. Thank you. All right. In that particular matter. Don't hesitate to ask questions saying this is your last question. You can ask questions, brother. We are family. Jeremiah's journey to Egypt, which I used at the thumbnail for this in part. All right. At least on the Facebook matter. Subscribe. Day Night Publications, that's the website. You can go to it and see more videos, the list of books, the links, as well as articles that are in the books in this particular case. Zedekiah was captured in Jericho, according to 2 Kings 25. Jericho was the first city, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Israelites went into on the western side of the Jordan. Jericho was the last city that a ruler of Israel as king was in before he was captured by the Babylonians and then brought to Babylon. When you read Edom should have not triumphed over the day of Judah's fall, this is the timing that Obadiah in part is talking about. What happened with Israel that was left in the land in part went into the land of Egypt? This is what we pointed out before in Jeremiah chapter 44, sorry. Just want to point that out. All right. So let's look. You have Goshen here, Egypt, Memphis, Heliopolis, which is called Om, or Beit Shemesh, which means, not trying to be funny, the house of the sun. Shemesh means sun, also means usage. We see here Pithom, which was built by the Israelites. Sukkot, brothers and sisters, where the Israelites were at when they eventually left the land of Egypt through what many, as I pointed out in my book, you can get it online, Egypt Talk and Writing, today called Lake Timsah, if you will, also known as Yam Suf, or the Sea of Reeds. All right. So this is something we care to point out for reference purposes. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Thank you for that, if you will. All right. More than Yeshaya history lessons. Subscribe to the channel, please. In the year 597 and the year 586 BCE, Judea, kingdom of Judah, was taken as captives, the kings being Jehoiakim and Zedekiah. According to Bernhard Anderson, we see Egypt came to be one of the major centers of the, quote, Jewish dispersion. I got it cited as the author stated for copyright purposes. During the time of Jeremiah is when they in Elephantine existed. Elephantine Island is not that far from where Siwa is in the southern part of Egypt, by what they call, correct me if I'm wrong, the cataracts of the Nile. Me and my lady was on the Nile, brothers and sisters. And for me, It was deep because that is where the children of Israel did see the Nile. It talks about the Nile in the book of Genesis. It talks about the Nile in the book of Exodus. It talks about the Nile in the book of Ezekiel. So no geography, Israel, while we talk about our book. It's not something to be far-fetched. I may understand, brothers, since I'm like, oh, you try to be going left and right, or just stay in the book in Israel. Israel, we want to show, is not just Israel. What I mean by that is Israel extended as a people. And the Tanakh, the scriptures talk about it. So while we talk about stay in the book and teach the book, as some brothers and sisters do state, I don't mind constructive criticism, but a brother is attempting, thank the Most High, to, quote, teach the book. That's why I cite the book. And that's just, you know, some of the things as far in that particular case with the timing allotted. Thank you for that, if you will. That's Elephantine Island, where Israelites were during the time of the Persian Empire, as we spoke about in several cases. What are we looking at here? Babylonian king Merodach-Baladan. You see him mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. These are things that we try to care to point out, that this is not just a myth. We want to bring it into what we're talking about. To understand some of the history presented in context, let us understand that Tiglath-Pileser was known as Pulu in Babylon, and his successor, Shalmaneser V, was known as Ululai in Babylon. Pulu defeated Nabu-Zuri. The Assyrians, too, were defeated by the Chaldeans, the Beit Yakin, when they joined forces with the Persians. See how, when you read in your own time in Jeremiah 25, you see all of these people mentioned, Persia, Elam. You see the Medes mentioned. You see Israel mentioned. You see Babylon and Assyria mentioned. So let's understand what was going on in that time frame. If you were to bring it in today's term, Israelite camps, when Ronald Reagan came president in the 80s, some Israelites was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Pharaoh has come back. That was what some of the Israelites in camps were saying in the early 80s when Ronald Reagan, with Reaganomics came in that particular case. What, to my knowledge, was Israelites saying when Nixon was in office in the 70s? This guy's a creep. That's what some things were stated by Israelites in that time frame. So there's nothing wrong with knowing about a society and the rulers in a said particular matter and in a said particular case. Sidebar. Did you know that the mayor, David Dinkins, may he rest in peace, went to an Israelite congregation in 1991 that is still in Brooklyn called Beit Shalom? David Dinkins, the mayor, went to an Israelite congregation in the early 1990s. And like you might see in the Hollywood movie Coming to America with all of them on the motorcycles, that's how they brought the mayor of New York City to an Israelite congregation back in 1991. So there's nothing wrong knowing certain kinds of matters in this particular case. Let's continue, if we will, brothers and sisters, and close out. Babylon was then ruled by Bel-Ebni, who with Meshib-Zi-Marduk rebelled against Assyria. Sennacherib, however, defeated them. Sennacherib set up Ashur-na-din-Shumi as ruler of Babylon. Sennacherib was killed by his sons. This is recorded in the Tanakh and secular history. Esarhaddon was ruler in both Assyria and Babylon, but he in time set up his son Ashurbanipal as ruler in Assyria and Shamash-Shmushkin as king in Babylon. Sidebar, I want to say this. What I'm reading comes from the notes in my book, Egypt Talking Writing. You can get it online. My sister, much respect to her, was one of the people who did peer review, for the lack of a better term, for my book. And she said, not to be haughty or nothing, that your book is fire, your book is good, your book is nice. It made me go study and look up and fact check some of these names that you're talking about. Because my sister, and I say this in no disrespect, stated that what she knew about Egypt was like the video Michael Jackson, may he rest in peace, and Eddie Murphy was in called Remember the Time. That was her definition of Egypt until she read the book a brother wrote. Why do I say that? Not to toot my own horn, Get your books out. You don't know how it can influence. See that book there on the side? From Babylon to Timbuktu? Is the reason why I got the understanding to name the book From Assyria to America, From Avaris to Alabama. I got that copy in the style from, may God bless his life to continue. He still is among us, the elder Rudolph Windsor. Much respect to him. One of the first pioneers in Israel to come out with a book. You understand? See, we don't do necromancy. We don't conjure up the dead, you know? We don't chill by the cemeteries and look through the vaults and open up the doors and try to see who's there on the other side. We don't do that. We leave things on record for our children when we're no longer here, and our children's children when we're no longer here. We don't disturb our ancestors like Saul did to Samuel. Why did you disquiet me? Is the first thing Samuel said when he was being risen up from wherever he was resting at. Because the witch of Endor and where Samuel was buried is two different cities. Where was Samuel coming from? Conscious community, stop raising up the dead. Let them rest in peace. All right? Harriet Tubman died with pneumonia. Stop resurrecting her spirit. She cannot be happy coming back. So let's continue in this, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. All right? Nineveh was attacked in 612 BCE. Babylon was coming up as an empire at this time, and Shinshar-Rishkun was killed in battle. Nebuchadnezzar defeated Necho in battle, as we pointed out earlier. Necho was king over Egypt. Babylon also defeated the people of Tyre. In time, Babylon lost to Persians. We appreciate the fact you joined us. Shalom. Giving honor to the Most High. This presentation was brought to you from Day Night Publications. We appreciate the support, the shares, the likes, the comments, and the constructive criticism. We hope you all are well and will be better. The presentation here, Israelite History in the Eyes of Jeremiah, is part one of a series in which will be continued. We can be reached at 908-587-4841. We intend to have more history presentations as time goes on. Shalom. Pray for your brother and sister and pray only to the Most High. Get the book written by Sarai, a Jew. Get this book. This is an excellent poetry book. I do not say that because it is written by my lady, but because it is the truth. Some poems funny, some sad, none are fake. Care to get the book? Contact us at 718-864-3125. That's like our business number. 718-864-3125. Or at our email, yeshsarai@yahoo.com. YESHSARAI@yahoo.com. The link of the book is in the description. For those who want to buy it directly online, we appreciate the patronage. DayNightPublications.com. Book sale. The book you see there on the left-hand side, From Assyria to America, is instead of $30, $20 until December 7th, when the timing of Hanukkah comes. The book you see there, From Avaris to Alabama, is $10 instead of $12. Now, Avaris to Alabama is chapter 2 of the book From Assyria to America. So if you decide to buy the book From Assyria to America, in theory, there is no reason to buy From Avaris to Alabama. If you just want a book that's a shorter volume of the other, one of the biggest chapters in the book condensed to one book, we ask you to patronize by buying a book From Avaris to Alabama. We do not ask for donations through Cash App or through Zelle. We ask you to buy the books that my lady wrote. We ask you to buy the books that I wrote. So that way, for your hard-earned money, you can actually see something in your hand, as opposed to just saying, send us a donation. Thank you. We rather give something to the people. It's a give and take kind of matter, brothers and sisters. And we appreciate the patronage for the people who have done so, if we will. All right? So brothers and sisters, we hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. We are going to, in this particular case, complete this presentation with the timing allotted. Thank you all for the time, and so forth and so on. The brother asked about Isaiah chapter 65, verse 20. And we're going to read it. I don't want to make the man feel or anyone else feel slighted. All right? In this, I appreciate the presentation, comments, and so forth. Those who care to join on with a brother and doing the presentation, you got my number, 908-587-4841. I can send a link straight through StreamYard, and we can sit there and teach together, bring this out to the people together. But let's read this. In Isaiah 65, verse 20, it says this. Thank you for that, my brother. There shall be no famine thence. And if, pardon me, let me read this carefully. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that has not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. My teacher used to teach that. What is that saying? In the future, if you die at 100, you curse, baby. Some of us are happy to sit there and see 50, 60, 70, 80. What Isaiah chapter 65 is saying, in the future, if you die at 100, you are cursed. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we care, we care to bring out for reference purposes, if we will. Thank you for even asking that question. All right, hopefully the answer was satisfactory. Giving honor and praise. Giving honor, thanks, and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. This presentation is now concluded. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. To those who have done so, we appreciate it, and we definitely hope that everybody is well and will be better. Stay tuned. We're going to create a will and have more presentations. Jeremiah, called History of Israel Through Jeremiah's Eyes. This is a series. We also intend to have December 6th, the day before Hanukkah, a thorough and concise, creative willing, to the best of one's ability, history of what Hanukkah is about. Quickly to say, it's not about giving gifts, because we should always give gifts, verbal and or otherwise. Some people have made Hanukkah or Hanukkah a kind of Xmas or quote-unquote Christmas kind of spirit. We're giving gifts and things of that nature. Hanukkah was a bloody time. And Hanukkah, if anything, was more about giving than receiving, because they was rededicating the temple after the people of the Seleucids trampled the temple and took the things up out of it. So Hanukkah, if anything, is more of a giving time than say, what can you do for me? More so than what can I do for someone else? Now, let's say spiritually, maybe physically too. If your body is your temple, why not treat it nice? Solomon said the wicked is cruel to their flesh. Why are you eating things that's garbage? But yet you make sure you get unleaded gas for your car. I don't have a car or drive, but I know this for my friends who make sure my rims are spinning. My car is flying. And there's no disrespect intended to the people who I know who quote carry, and you know what I mean by that. They make sure they polish the base of it and make sure that it's clean and so forth. Wow. People who have their own apartments, their own rooms, their own houses, they make sure it's clean and put the best things of quality in that. The ancient menorah, real quick, I want to say, had not wax that can burn and fall, but oil that stays lit. Why do we give ourselves garbage when we know good and well the things that we treat material, such as cars and houses, and for those into weapons, their burners, make sure it's polished and everything like that. Make sure you get the best gas for your car. Make sure there's that bootleg, that best be real. You are standing on the Coliseum block, sister, asking the bootlegger if the jacket is real. No, it's not. But you want the real. So why do we not sit there and treat ourselves real? Bitter herbs is required on Passover. Take your herbs, brothers and sisters. It can do nothing but help. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, creator, maker of heaven and earth. I try not to go over an hour in presentation. I thank you all for joining Day and Night Publication. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Be blessed. Pray for me, only to the Most High. Pray for each other as we pray for each other. Shalom Lakim. Hopefully everybody is well and will be better.